A ton of cocaine, pure cocaine worth hundreds of millions, is smuggled into the United States. Sound familiar? Not the way this ton of cocaine got here. According to what the former head of the Drug Enforcement Administration told Mike Wallace, this drug shipment got here courtesy of what he calls drug trafficking by the CIA in partnership with the Venezuelan National Guard.
So the Gray Zone's doing great work on this Venezuela drug problem. You know, Trump is pretending that the reason why he wants to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela is to fight drug cartels. But it turns out the drug cartels aren't coming from Venezuela. The drug cartels are actually coming from other countries and the CIA. And the Trump administration accuses Nicolas Maduro of leading the now defunct Cartel of the Suns. That's what it was called, the Cartel of the Suns. Diego Secura explains here how the CIA directed its top Venezuelan asset to ship tons of cocaine into United States cities during the 1990s. The CIA asset was known as the leader of Cartel of the Suns. You want to hear? Here's a little bit of it.
There's this load of cocaine that was found in the Miami International Airport by the DEA that actually led back to Venezuela, and it led back to Brigadier General Ramon Guillen, which was actually the CIA's man here in Venezuela back then, and there was the one guy that was actually doing all the indictments and on behalf, working with the CIA, was actually acknowledged by the time as the most trusted CIA asset in Venezuela back then.
So when they did find the cocaine in a city and they can trace it back to Venezuela, it was a CIA asset in Venezuela.
Oh, they have this. People are the same everywhere you go, Jimmy.
So, and even 60 Minutes did a report on it. You want to hear 60 Minutes report on it? Listen to this.
A ton of cocaine, pure cocaine worth hundreds of millions, is smuggled into the United States. Sound familiar? Not the way this ton of cocaine got here. According to what the former head of the Drug Enforcement Administration told Mike Wallace, this drug shipment got here courtesy of what he calls drug trafficking by the CIA in partnership with the Venezuelan National Guard. While rumors of CIA involvement in drug trafficking have circulated for years, no one in the U.S. government has ever before publicly charged the CIA with this kind of wrongdoing. And it's not the kind of accusation anyone in government would make without thinking long and hard.
Let me understand what you're saying. A ton of cocaine was smuggled into the United States of America by the Venezuelan National Guard?
Well,
In cooperation with the CIA?
that's exactly what appears to have happened.
Until last month, Judge Robert Bonner was the head of the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA. And Judge Bonner explained to us that only the head of the DEA is authorized to approve the transportation of any illegal narcotics like cocaine into this country, even if the CIA is bringing it in.
Let me put it this way, Mike. If this has not been approved by DEA or an appropriate law enforcement authority in the United States, then it's illegal. It's called drug trafficking. It's called drug smuggling.
So what you're saying, in effect, is the CIA broke the law. Simple as that.
I don't think there's any other way you can rationalize around it.
So that's the head of the DEA saying the people who are bringing drugs into the United States and trafficking them are the CIA.
Oh.
Not even working in conjunction with the DEA. They're just doing it themselves.
Assuming, as I think we can, that there was some knowledge on the part of CIA, at least some participation in approving or condoning this to be done.
Judge Bonner says he came to that conclusion after a 2-year secret investigation conducted by the DEA's Office of Professional Responsibility in cooperation with the CIA's own Inspector General. And what reason did the CIA have for promoting this drug smuggling?
Well, the only rationale that's ever been offered is that this would lead to some valuable drug intelligence about the Colombian cartels.
Over half of the Colombian drug cartel's cocaine crosses the border with Venezuela on its way to the United States and Europe. Back in the 1980s, the CIA was mandated by then President
Hang on, it's coming. Hold on.
Reagan to develop intelligence on the Colombian drug cartels. And so the CIA, with Venezuela's Guardia Nacional, or National Guard, set up an undercover operation, a drug smuggling operation in Venezuela that could handle the transshipment of the Colombian cartel's cocaine on its way to market.
So the CIA is setting up drug smuggling inside Venezuela. And the idea is because we want to catch the people in Colombia.
The plan was to infiltrate the cartel, and it worked. Well, the CIA National Guard undercover operation quickly accumulated this cocaine, over 1.5 tons, that was smuggled from Colombia into Venezuela inside these trucks, and then was stored here at the CIA-financed Counter-Narcotics Intelligence Center in Caracas. The center's commander and the CIA's man in Venezuela was National Guard General Ramon Guillen Davila.
I tried to work together with them. I was always aware that they were not telling me everything they were doing.
Annabelle Grim was a DEA agent with 18 years' experience when she was made
Here it comes. Hold on.
agent in charge in Caracas. And she says that the CIA station chief, James Campbell, And this man, Mark McFarland, the CIA officer in charge at the center, told her that to keep the undercover smuggling operation credible, they had to keep the cartel happy. And the way to do that was simple. Deliver their dope, untouched by U.S. law enforcement, to the cartel's distributors, their dope dealers in the United States.
The CIA and the Guardia Nacional wanted to let cocaine go on into the traffic without doing anything. They wanted to let it come up to the United States, no surveillance, no nothing.
In other words, you weren't going to stop them in Miami or Houston or wherever. These drugs were simply going to go to the United States and then go into the traffic and eventually reach the streets.
That's what they wanted to do, yes. And we had very, very lengthy discussions where I told them what the U.S. law was and the fact that we could not do this.
So here you got Jim Campbell, chief of station, who knows about this. Mark McFarland, CIA officer, knows about this. And are stimulating this business of sending what are uncontrolled deliveries of drugs, smuggling drugs into the United States, right?
Right.
Why in the world would they want to do that?
As they explained to me, that this would enable them to gain the traffickers' confidence, keep their informant cool, and it would result in future seizures of larger quantities of drugs. And also they hoped to, I guess, they thought they were going to get Pablo Escobar at the scene of the crime or something, which I found personally ludicrous.
But if Annabelle Grim thought this was ludicrous, the CIA station chief James Campbell did not. He enlisted the assistance of CIA headquarters in Washington to get approval for the drug shipments. And his bosses at the CIA in Washington went over Annabelle Grim's head directly to her bosses at DEA headquarters in Washington.
They made this proposal, and we said, no way, we will not permit this. It should not go forward. And then, apparently, it went forward anyway.
The joint DEA-CIA investigation we mentioned earlier confirmed that over a ton of cocaine made its way from the counter-narcotic center in Caracas to the streets of the United States. And they discovered that at one point, General Guillen's National Guard tried to ship 1,500 kilos at once.
They were not successful in that because apparently the package they had put together was too large. It wouldn't fit on the plane.
General Guillen admits to the bungled operation.
It was too big for the airplane door because the plane was a 707.
The box was too big to get into the airplane? $30 million worth of cargo, drugs? All these officials, the Venezuelans, the Americans, the Colombians, all so stupid that they don't have a box that's small enough to fit inside their own airplane.
The traffickers made a mistake with the plane.
Is it possible that General Guillen was doing this on his own without the knowledge of the CIA?
I would find it very difficult for several reasons to believe that they did not know what was going on. They built, they ran, they controlled that center. General Guillen and his officers didn't go to the bathroom without telling Mark McFarland or the CIA what they were going to do.
The drug smuggling operation finally unraveled nearly a year after Annabelle Grim says she told the CIA and General Guillen that it was illegal to send drugs uncontrolled into the U.S. Then, a shipment arrived at Miami's International Airport and was seized, coincidentally, by U.S. Customs. Customs traced those drugs back to the Venezuelan National Guard. But General Guillen told us that operation had been approved by U.S. authorities.
Look, what I see here is that there is a problem between the CIA and the DEA, and perhaps they are trying to find a fall guy who is General Guillen. If I had anything to do with illegal drug trafficking, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
General Guillen is right about one thing. He could travel to New York to talk to us about Judge Bonner's charges only because he had already been granted immunity from prosecution in that DEA-CIA Inspector General's investigation. So we confronted the general with this document, a report from that investigation that reads like his confession.
Guillen lost his composure, and when directly confronted concerning his involvement in the unauthorized and illegal shipment of cocaine to the U.S., confesses.
Look, I say that confession is not true. In that report, there are a lot of lies. It's useless. I have not confessed anywhere.
So you're clean?
Clean until the last day God has for me.
So far, there has been no legal action against General Guillen. As for the CIA officers, well, Judge Bonner may believe that someone at the agency must have known, but the CIA and the U.S. Department of Justice say they have discovered, quote, no evidence of criminal wrongdoing. However, the CIA did acknowledge to us that the investigation, quote, did reveal instances of poor judgment and management, leading to disciplinary actions for several CIA officers. Mark McFarland, the CIA officer in charge of the Counter-Narcotics Center, resigned from the agency last year. We tried to talk to him, but he told us the CIA would take legal action against him if he violated his secrecy agreement with the agency. As for James Campbell, the CIA station chief, we learned he was brought back to the U.S. and promoted, but then he retired. Campbell did tell us, quote, I've devoted my life to my country and feel like a victim in this thing. This happened without our knowledge. We were there to prevent it. While CIA headquarters declined to answer our questions on camera, off camera, a CIA official involved in the Venezuelan cocaine operation did.
We talked to some people at CIA. They say the DEA does the same thing all the time. They let drugs walk. They let drugs into the traffic, look the other way, to further a more important goal.
It's absolutely untrue. And frankly, maybe it displays the kind of ignorance that makes the CIA dangerous in this area. It is wrong for an agency of the U.S. government to facilitate and participate in allowing drugs to reach the streets. And apparently, if the CIA doesn't understand that, then I would be concerned that this kind of incident could be repeated.
The CIA advised us they had recently briefed the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Dennis DeConcini, and they urged us to talk with him, apparently believing he would defend the operation.
It was an operation that I don't think they should have been involved in.
No question, the drugs got in.
I don't doubt that the drugs got in here.
You'd think that maybe the agency would want to say, okay, we made a mistake.
I think they made a mistake, and you hope when these mistakes are made that, not too many more of them are, particularly when the mistake is a large quantity of substance like this that can kill people, and probably did.
We asked the senator why no one in the CIA has been prosecuted for bringing in the drugs.
You would seem to think there would be a good case there.
Case against?
Against an American who knew anything about it. But, I've been a prosecutor, Mike, and you have to look at the case, convince a jury or a judge not to throw the case out. The Justice Department reviewed that, and they decided not to prosecute these individuals from the agency.
And what about the vaunted intelligence gathered from the whole CIA anti-drug caper in Venezuela?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I don't know of any because from what I know, no valuable intelligence of any kind was produced from this operation.
So the whole idea was we're going to get intelligence so we could go after even bigger and stop big, and they got none. Zero.
Well,
so all they were doing was just shipping. They were just trafficking cocaine. The CIA
They became the biggest they took over all of the drug traffic during the 90s. That's in Kathy O'Brien's book. The goal was to do that, to take over all the cartels. So all that bullshit about Mexico, that's your friends at the CIA, who, by the way, they protect us, I guess, from everything except cocaine and 9/11s.
Yes.
Intelligence was generated by the shipment of this 1,000 to 1,500 kilos, controlled or uncontrolled.
It was very positive.
Is something wrong?
Really? Who did you finger? What did you find out?
Right now, a truck driver and a truck that were trafficking drugs into Venezuela are under arrest. There was another truck, and 2 similar van types were also caught.
So what you're saying is that you captured 3 or 4 or 5 truck drivers. I'm asking about intelligence in the United States that was generated by the actual shipment of these kilos into the United States.
Now, whether or not here in the United States they arrested anyone or the intelligence gathered was useless, that is the responsibility of the Americans.
After speaking to us, General Guillen traveled to Miami where federal agents found him and served him with a subpoena to appear before a newly revived grand jury investigation into the CIA's cocaine. But the word out of Venezuela is that the government there will not permit him to testify.
I look at that 1,000 kilos, at least that 1,000 kilos. I look at the fact, Mike, you're a taxpayer, and that was U.S. taxpayer money that built that center, that funded it, that maintained it. And I really take great exception to the fact that 1,000 kilos came in funded by U.S. taxpayer money, and it hit the streets of the United States. I find that particularly appalling when you look at all the damaged lives that 1,000 kilos represents.
And what happened to the tens of millions that were paid for the CIA's cocaine? Well, General Guillen insists he didn't get any of it. But Judge Bonner says one thing is certain. The Colombian cartel did. They got their money once the dope made it to our streets. Meanwhile, both the House and Senate Intelligence Oversight Committees continue to ask questions about what they call, quote, the very serious charges.
So the United States CIA used the military in Venezuela to get Colombian cocaine distributed in the United States, and all the profit from that went back to the Colombian cartels.
And they never stopped.
And they never stopped doing that, right? According to Kurt, you read that book? Tell me about it.
Well, you already know Iran-Contra and the Panama. This is
right.
back during Reagan.
Right.
So Reagan, that chump who is like a puppet of them, I guess. I don't know why Kathy O'Brien forgives him. He's a scumbag to me. Their whole goal was to take over the drug cartels, and they did. And I don't know when this was. When did Gary Webb die?
Gary Webb died in 2002, I think.
Yeah, there's
and this was from the 90s. How
crazy this is.
Yeah.
Over this entire time, it's public knowledge the CIA did this. And there was some, inter-office discipline. That's all that happened. And then you hear all these people bellowing about a drug problem. Were those 11 people they killed CIA by any chance? On that boat off the coast of Venezuela?
Yeah.
I hope they were CIA people, because then you got them. You would have to suspect.
Okay. We'll see you this week in Chicago, Appleton, Wisconsin, Louisville, Fort Wayne, Hermosa Beach. Going to be telling jokes in Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, and San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So now you know all this stuff. It's your own government working against you. And now
I already knew this and I didn't know this.
And now Donald, what's that?
I already knew this and didn't know this. There's always a new obvious thing that's not a secret you could just find that'll tell you what they did.
Yep.
You don't got to read anything. It was obvious the whole time.
Obvious the whole time. And so, again, the idea that Donald Trump is going there to end the cartels or fight drugs is complete fabrication. You got John McCain trying to overthrow a sovereign government, using war crimes to do it so that he could give the natural resources to the economic hitmen from the United States. That's what this is. Same old thing. No matter who you vote for, you get John McCain. Come see me on tour. I'll be in Sacramento, San Francisco, Irvine, California, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, Australia, and then Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.